And here's a look at that box score coming off this one, 23-7. Jacksonville leaves 9 points at the very least on the field in the first half, 10-0 at halftime. And then Baltimore came out and just towed the rock right at him. Gus Edwards, 58 rushing yards, but a loss within this win as they're down yet another running back. The Baltimore Ravens, it's always next man up, and a defense that stands stout as they did here against Jayville. Back in studio, Joe Musso alongside the two-time champ Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, another convincing win here from the Baltimore Ravens. They do exactly what we know they do well in this spot. They play defense, they run the football. How impressed were you by that ability to flex the muscles against a team that's likely, going to be a playoff team, and I only give pause there because the way that Jacksonville's been playing as of late. We'll get there, but your thoughts here on Baltimore?
I was very impressed with Baltimore offensively, more so about the running game, right? You talked about coming into this ball game being one of the more consistent rushing attacks in the National Football League. They did not disappoint. 251 yards on the ground, 42 attempts. They averaged around 6 yards per tote, 1 rushing touchdown. Lamar Jackson led the team today in rushing. When you factor in all the different guys in the backfield, they had a positive outpouring as well. And that has been the calling card for their offense because, you know, offensively throwing the football, that hasn't been their strong point. They run to throw, and we saw that open up here and there throughout this ball game. And Lamar Jackson is just, you know, outside the one blemish, the interception early in the first half, he played a pretty clean ball game. And his ability to buy time also has become an annoying thing for defenders because that allows his pass catchers to find a way to hit the open spot, and Lamar Jackson finds them. So they did what they're supposed to do. And I understand some people might say, well, this game was kind of ugly. I mean, they beat a playoff caliber team at home on a national stage, easily covering the spread by double digits. What more do you need to see from Baltimore? And this has been the Ravens' mantra throughout the entire season, finding ways to win and doing so in a convincing way.
Well, I think what more I need to see is exactly what you just touched on there. Lamar's been spectacular, run or pass this year. I mean, seeing him stand in the pocket and deliver the ball the way that he has throughout the season has been impressive, yet they can't get that aspect of the offense clicking on all cylinders. I don't think that's a product of what Lamar has or has not done, rather the guys on the outside. And we get loud about the Kansas City Chiefs and their lack of reliability on the outside. This team doesn't have the drops that Kansas City has. But where do you go to when rubber meets road come January, dare I say February, and you do need to get into a pass game against a team like San Francisco next week, against a team like Miami the next week? I mean, how do you expect this offensive attack, passing-wise, to project over a playoff push?
Well, the thing about Baltimore, it's not like they have that one guy who is the guy. They have a bunch of guys that can kind of show up here or there depending on the circumstances, depending on the options, right? Isaiah Likely was the lead dog today. I mean, you got to really like the development that we were seeing from Isaiah Likely, filling in for Mark Andrews, and hopefully they might be able to get Mark Andrews back at some point in time in the playoffs. But what we're seeing from Isaiah Likely is the guy that we witnessed in college at Coastal Carolina, very athletic tight end, and he's taking advantage of the opportunities. Rashad Bateman in the first half did a pretty good job. Didn't really do a lot in the second half, but he showed up. And then outside of that, you didn't get a lot from, you know, Odell Beckham Jr. Zay Flowers only had 1 reception. But they have some guys, and that has been the storyline. Guys. They don't have the guy. And when you factor in the main resource when it comes to the passing attack, it has been Mark Andrews, right? He is their Travis Kelce for their offense. So without Mark Andrews being involved, it's been basically the who's of who. You know, you throw here, you throw there. Every guy gets an opportunity. So hopefully they can weather the storm until Mark Andrews comes back if he's able to. But you have to like what you're seeing from guys that have been filling in, specifically speaking in Isaiah Likely, because he's starting to establish a nice relationship with Lamar Jackson, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, they need that relationship to grow there and elsewhere in the passing game, because there's going to be a point this season, whether it's late in the regular season or in the playoffs, where they're going to have to throw the football with effectiveness and downfield. Before we get to the inefficiencies here with Jacksonville, how big of a loss is Keaton Mitchell in your eyes? This is a team that always gives us that next man up mantra. I mean, starting from camp last season when they were dinged by all those injuries, then this year, you allude to Andrews. You're now talking about Keaton Mitchell. Your star back goes down again early in this season. Can they weather this storm yet again? I mean, Mitchell's your leading rusher, not named Lamar Jackson, 9 for 73, and we got to look at that injury that maybe America did not during the commercial break on our feed. And we're hoping the best for Keaton Mitchell, but we don't expect to see him anytime soon.
That's a huge loss. Mitchell provides speed to the backfield, something that the Baltimore Ravens haven't had the luxury of having in quite some time. The fear factor that he provides also when he gets the football in his hands. It's not all about just, you know, the carries, but catching the football in the backfield. We saw tonight. I mean, when he turns the corner, you're holding your breath as a defender because he has the speed to take a 5-yard run or a catch to the house. And now not having him in the lineup, I mean, it takes an element of fear away.
Yeah.
You have Lamar Jackson, but when you have Lamar Jackson and Mitchell in the same backfield, that read option hits differently, you know, as a defender. And now you rely more on guys like Gus Edwards, who's clearly, you know, an experienced guy in the backfield, Justice Hill as well, but they don't have the speed.
Yeah, a little more downhill.
Yeah, they don't have the speed that Mitchell has, and we don't know the severity of his injury. He didn't look good, but now you take him away, it's like, okay, now you kind of go back to the old Baltimore, the old bang, ground and pound aspect, where you just bang it and falling forward. Keaton Mitchell's a speed guy. He's a 4.2 in the backfield. Anybody would love to have that luxury, right? You talk about the Tyreek Hill type speed. He's not Tyreek Hill, but he has speed like a Tyreek Hill. And I'm not comparing the two, but he just provides that fear factor that Tyreek Hill provides for the Miami Dolphins. He provides that for Baltimore in the backfield. So, you know, they got to find a way to get things done. And luckily enough for the Baltimore Ravens, before Mitchell became a vocal part of their offense, they were relying on other guys. So hopefully they can kind of go back to that mindset.
Yeah, it's that type of speed that changes angles of attack.
Speed kills.
This Jacksonville team's going to need to change their angle of attack because it has not been good. 3 consecutive losses, the 2 prior to backup quarterbacks against Cincinnati and Cleveland. Here, another loss to not a backup quarterback, an MVP hopeful quarterback in this spot, but nothing's going right now for Jacksonville. Situational awareness before the half, terrible. Offense, I mean, you missed 2 kicks. That obviously doesn't make anybody feel better about anything. Trevor Lawrence trying to get this offense going, and you saw them most effective with Trevor off script running the ball late in this game. I mean, Calvin Ridley's there, but like, what is the root of the issue right now with Jacksonville that's forced them into this funk?
2 things. The mental lapse in situational moments, right? The missed field goals is one thing, right, Joe? They were like a 50-plus or something like that. So with the win, very, very difficult field goal unless you're Justin Tuck. You know, McManus, not Tuck, but you missed the field goal. Okay, cool. At that point, when you talk about trying to initiate some positivity on the offensive end, you're only down 3 points. Trevor Lawrence is trying to scramble, 3rd and 17. Nowhere close to getting the first down. He fumbles the football. Now, instead of having a makeable field goal attempt, you fumble the football, instantly take points away from yourself, and you jumpstart an offensive possession for the Baltimore Ravens. And then when you talk about Baltimore, you know, at that time, I think the score was, as we see here, 10-0.
Yep. You got to come home with 3.
Spike the football. You got a chance to run 2 plays. If you spike it now, you would have a chance to run 2 plays if you spike it. But instead of spiking it, you decide to call a play. Okay, cool. If you call a play, attack the end zone.
You can't go there with the ball.
You cannot throw an out route. And I understand what they were thinking. We would throw the out route, he's out of bounds. No, you can't anticipate him easily going out of bounds. That was a missed opportunity because if you spike the football, you literally have anywhere between 14 to 12 seconds on the clock. If you're attacking the end zone, you can run bare minimum 2 plays. Bare minimum 2 plays in that situation. But because of the mental lapse, you squander away points. Forget taking the shot in the end zone. Worst case scenario, kick a field goal. Now, half a play, you go into halftime only down 7 points and playing horrible football in the half. But because of that mental lapse, you left points on the scoreboard. And I talked about this during halftime. Playing against a team like Baltimore, you cannot have these miscues and expect to win because you will not be able to get over those miscues because you're playing against a playoff caliber team that know how to win ball games. And that's what we saw. Untimely miscues within this ball game from start to finish led to a huge loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you talked about being in a 3-game losing streak right now. This is the wrong time because I'll say this all the time. In the month of December, either you're thriving or surviving. And right now, Jacksonville, they're trying to survive. They should be thriving. Because of their mental lapse, they allowed teams like the Colts in the Houston Texans they moved into the same neighborhood. At one point in time, it was only one house in that neighborhood, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, you look, the moving trucks are moving in. You got some company, and it's going to get extremely interesting moving down the rest of the way because of these 3 games, especially losing one tonight when you had an opportunity to really open up the window of opportunity to create separation from the other teams in your division.
Jacksonville will take a trip to the Bucs. They will welcome the Panthers and finish with a trip to the Titans. I mean, you got some wild cards in there, but winnable games, no doubt. We'll see if Jacksonville can get it right, Mac. We appreciate the thoughts as always.